In the news this week, bring back corporal punishment. Experts' view on how to curb youth violence in schools.
Can you live with $20,000 a year? The Greens leaders push for universal basic income.
Task Force Mazam detectives laid further charges against a female suspect.
And the Sausage Sizzle event to support Fremantle Train Hobby Club.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Danielle Staniscott.
Good evening. There are growing concerns that youth violence is being made worse by social media following a school brawl at the Busselton High School in recent weeks. Experts say stronger discipline is needed and suggests that young people may need corporal punishment as a deterrent. Nelson Liu has the exclusive report.
The attack was labelled sickening, and John Gillespie says it's been heightened by social media.
I think that's what the issue is.
Following a recent student assault on another student at a Busselton High School, the WA Police Citizens Youth Club boss says amateur video of youth attacks posted online have intensified its impacts.
Social media, whatever where they are, escalates the problem, and I think what it does, it actually skews what the problem is.
However, he says serious student attacks can't be downplayed and more discipline is needed in schools for young people.
Bring back corporal punishment. Bring back the belt, bring back the cane.
The attack has fueled discussions about more violence prevention in schools.
That is not okay behaviour, and we need to have a broader conversation about how we tackle that kind of thing.
The state government says violence in schools isn't acceptable, but WA police say school fights aren't uncommon.
It's not a phenomenon that kids have a scrap in the schoolyard.
They say the Education Department needs to deal with violent incidents, but police will make arrests if there are serious attacks. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
Can you survive on only $20,000 per year? The Australian Greens party leader seems to think so, but MPs from both Labor and Liberals dismiss the idea of a universal basic income. The concept is radical, but could it be the way of the future? Reporter Taylor Hanna has the details.
Greens Senator Richard Di Natale has proposed a universal basic income of $20,000 to $40,000 per year per person.
The idea would add in the vicinity of $45 billion a year to the government's deficit. Madness.
WA MPs are saying that the proposal is unsustainable and it will cost an estimated $45 billion to the government's deficit.
I don't think we're in that position at the moment in Australia, certainly not in Western Australia, and I think it's probably just one of those proposals the federal Greens have thrown amongst themselves to debate. And
they did the same thing in Russia, USSR, and if the Greens want to go back to it, they're welcome to it, but don't bring the nation as a whole with them.
Global politics and policy lecturer Ian Cook explained that to implement a universal basic income, increased taxation at federal level will have local economic repercussions.
To commit to that as your only source of income is to commit to a pretty simplified, limited lifestyle, and that's where it's going to meet a lot of its resistance. That for most of us, it's just not enough to live on.
Mr Cook also said the proposal ensures an equal Australia, but does not address the future stability of jobs. Taylor Hanna, WAMN News.
There are further developments on the police investigation undertaken by Task Force Mazam. Detectives have laid further charges against a 39-year-old woman, totaling 81 child sex abuse offences. It will be alleged that the woman sexually assaulted her biological daughter, son and a 14-year-old girl between 2011 and 2016. Task Force Mazam detectives are investigating the sexual abuse of 5 children after a recording device was found by a member of the public containing video showing both male and female adults engaging in sexual acts with the young girl. The woman has been refused bail and appeared before Perth Magistrate Court on Saturday.
WA is getting an increased share of GST after the Commonwealth Grants Commission announced that WA will receive an extra 10 cents per dollar this financial year. Although the growing GST pool means an extra $260 million for WA, Treasurer Ben White said it's not enough to change the broader strategy around budget repair. Meanwhile, the opposition says the money should be used reducing the deficit.
It is a very small increase. I remind you, $140 million over a spend of around $30 billion. That will simply ensure that our operating deficit, because we are still deep in deficit.
Well, you've got a windfall, pay down the debt, pay down the deficit, and don't concoct a story that you need more money to raise taxes and charges.
WA Police will be boosting its policing across Perth's metropolitan area with new changes to its operation. From July 1st, police districts in Perth will double from 4 to 8. Family and domestic violence units will be established in districts, and regional operation groups officers will also increase to 120. Commissioner Chris Dawton says the change will provide better policing for Perth.
The vision is to create an exceptional police force for Western Australia. All of these initiatives combined will help provide the police force to provide a police force to the community that the community expects and deserves.
Former South Korean President Park Geun-hye has been sentenced to 24 years in jail after the court found her guilty of power abuse, coercion and bribery. She was also fined $17 billion by the courts. Mrs. Park did not appear for her sentence due to sickness. Back in 2017, she resigned after millions of South Koreans took to the street, with the country being rocked by the corruption scandal. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has temporarily suspended the deportation of African migrants following criticism towards the resettlement policy. The suspension was implemented shortly after the agreement was made with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The new deal will mean that some migrants will be sent to Western countries, while others will stay in Israel temporarily.
And finally, now you may recall that 2 weeks ago we've brought you a feature story on Western Perspective about the Fremantle Model Railway Club. Well, in 2 weeks' time, they'll host a sausage sizzle on the 22nd of April outside Bunnings Warehouse O'Connor. The club secretary, Graham Campbell, hopes the community event will help to raise funds for the club.
We're always looking for more members and people to raise an awareness that the train club exists, and provide an opportunity for people, if they've got trains, to come and visit the club, and they can even bring their trains down to the club and run them on our lane.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. You can follow the latest news on our website and Facebook.
From Daniel, myself and the rest of the team, until 8 o'clock next Sunday, a very good evening to you.
Good night.